No one has felt the clout of Donald Trump's famous catch cry, "You're fired," more than Anthony Scaramucci. Hired as the White House communications director, the mooch, as he's known, lasted just 10 days before being shown the door. Now, the former Wall Street financier is turning the tables on the controversial US presidential candidate.
He was the fast-talking, aviator-wearing Italian New Yorker, the mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, stepping from Wall Street to the world stage in 2017 as a fresh character in the Trump show, the president's flashy director of communications. It started out as a love story.
I love the president. I love the president.
But just 11 days later,
"You're fired."
the relationship soured. Anthony Scaramucci was fired. He had held just one press conference. Once friend, now foe, Anthony Scaramucci still has his finger on the pulse in Washington. He's a Republican, but having seen it from the inside, is now on a mission to stop Donald Trump moving back in to the White House.
So Anthony Scaramucci, welcome to A Current Affair.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you were a Trump guy, and you were quite loyal even after he fired you. Tell us why you've changed. Why you're the anti-Trump guy now.
Well, I think he's the most un-American presidential candidate in the modern era in terms of the idealism of what America represents. I was with him because I thought he was going to be a Republican president, but what he actually did was he hijacked that party and turned it into Trumpism, which is sort of this, it's a sort of a bizarre set of policies, actually.
You're still a Republican, but
I am.
you would like to see Kamala Harris win this election.
Well, I stand alongside of Republicans. There's probably 40 of us that work for President Trump that are explaining the danger of him. And I would say this rhetorically, and I'd ask you to think about this. If I had worked at a pharmaceutical company with 40 people, and we watched a pill get manufactured, and we said, okay, this pill, if you give it to your children, is going to kill your children. Would you give it to your children? I mean, most people wouldn't. So it's weird about politics. You know, you're expressing the danger.
So you see it as doing a service for your country?
Yeah, well, it's very costly. You know, I get death threats. I get all types of hate screeds, either written to me on social media or mailed to my house. And I have a business, and so Michael Jordan once said that they said, "Are you a Democrat or a Republican?" And he said, "Well, they both buy sneakers." His point was that he was staying out of politics. It's probably easier for business people to stay out of politics.
So you've described Donald Trump as an orange wrecking ball, an incredibly dangerous guy, boring, getting old, racist, a bully, and off his rocker. Donald Trump has described you as a nut job, a mental wreck, and you got fired for gross incompetence. How do you really feel about each other?
It's like New Yorkers, like fighting. It's like, sounds like an Italian dinner table in New York somewhere. It doesn't bother me what he says about me.
Yeah.
And it probably doesn't bother him what I say about him. But in addition to saying those things which are a little melodramatic, I've tried to bring some rationality, and I've tried to make a case, a prosecution, if you will, against what he's really like.
And you're a charismatic guy. When you were working for Trump, we knew you as the mooch. You had the mirrored aviators, and there was a lot of attention on you. And you were one of the characters in the
Yeah, that probably cost me my job, though. Actually, I
that's
think,
what I was going to ask. Do you think that's why you got fired?
Yeah, I think my press conference, I only had one of them. It was the first day I arrived. I think that unnerved Trump, actually.
Better now? Better now? I'm going to start over.
He is a one-man show, and he is a team of one. If he calls you President so-and-so, or he says to you, "Hey, you're getting more famous than me," it's like time to book a trip to Antarctica and try to hide from him.
In your podcast, you talk about America and America.
So just to be clear, I didn't invent that. That's exactly how the sociologists talk about it. So America is sort of the coastal cities. It's sort of, there's a packed inside that word for this sociological description is some of the elitism. And so when someone says America, it is, it is the country music, it's the NASCAR, it's the hot dogs, it's the beer and Chevrolet, it's the sort of the center of the country that doesn't like the fanciful East Coasters or the West Coasters. Mr. Trump understands those people, and I think you have to give him credit for that.
The polls are tight. The polls are very tight. How tight is this election going to be, or do you see a breakout?
So I see a breakout. I think you'll see the narratives of these two campaigns forming, and one is unifying, one is a message of hope and prosperity. The other message is a grievance message, and I don't think the majority of the American public wants a grievance message.
There is a cost of living crisis in the US as there is in Australia. People are struggling to pay their mortgages, put food on the table. Can hope and good vibes get those people onto the Harris camp, or do we need a tougher economic policy from her?
No, it won't be enough. But again, she has the base elements of a good economic policy. And so if she can get that narrative out there, the next 4 years could be way better than the last 4 years.
American politics is very much about personality, more so than Australia. Is it more about personality than policy? And what
you
does...
have dull people in your politics, is that what you're saying?
I don't want to say anything about our politicians.
That's okay. I'm allowed to say it. I'm not Australian.
They're
dull, right?
a little duller, let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoyed dull for many years in our country. But
dull
go ahead,
can
I'm
be
sorry.
good. Dull can be good.
Yeah, no, dull could be really good.
What does that do to policy then, when it is about the personality?
Well, yeah, look, it's a great question because you're asking the seminal question that we have to ask ourselves. We want to be entertained by these leaders. It's a popularity contest. It's a visual process. It's almost like, okay, who's ever going to win this thing is going to be in my living room with me every night, is going to be part of my dinner time conversation every single night. And so therefore I have to be entertained by these people, and they have to hold me captivated. And so it's a popularity contest as opposed to a hiring process. I think that's very dangerous. I would prefer more dull. That's the great irony of it. The Democrats in this administration can say, hey, we heard the message, and so we responded with great policy, but for some reason they haven't done a good job of articulating that.
What does Donald Trump think of Australia?
I think he understands that we have strategic interests in this area. He'll want to revoke NATO. He said that openly. He'll provide space for Vladimir Putin. If there's a negotiated settlement in the Ukraine, it would be way worse under Donald Trump. People say that some people think he's more friendly to Israel, but I just remind people he's the most transactional person that you'll ever meet. And so if it serves his interest to be friendly with Israel, he'll do that. If it serves his interest to not be friendly with Israel, he'll also do that. Somebody like Vice President Harris would be a better friend to Australia because she understands the national security issues that are tied to the West, Australia, what we need to do in the Indo-Pacific region to make our countries prosperous, and the notion that people wouldn't fear her and all this sort of nonsense, all of this hyper-masculinity that Trump represents is a bunch of nonsense.
Would you take a job with Kamala Harris if she becomes president?
Actually, just for one day, okay? If I can just get one day in the White House, it would be an even dozen for me. I think I'm done with all that, actually, but yeah. I would tell the Harris team, and this is, people get mad at me when I say it anyway, her lighting was bad on that CNN interview. I said that on my podcast. You're a television person, lighting is everything in TV, and I would recommend to her comms team, people that were in television, when she's sitting for interviews, make sure her lighting is right.
Yeah, you can.
Is my lighting right?
You look
I'm just
amazing.
checking with you, okay?
I cannot see a wrinkle on your face.
Well, there's a lot of Botox in my face. I didn't give up. I don't wear a girdle, but I do have a lot of Botox in my face.
Have you still got the aviators?
I do, yeah. My wife doesn't like them, by the way, so I don't wear them as much. I have different style.
Anthony Scaramucci, thank you for your time.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, he sure is honest. And one thing is for sure, Donald Trump sure is a fighter. So it's going to be a fascinating showdown at the US election now in just 11 days' time.